From Hollywood, it's the Tom Leykis Show.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
And now, here he is, Tom Leykis.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tom Leykis Show. Here is a story, this from the Associated Press. It says here, as the roster of corporations and financial institutions in line for government bailouts seems to grow, some public policy advocates in Washington are calling on policymakers to focus more efforts on the nation's poorest. The ranks of the destitute are growing quietly but alarmingly, as much of the world focuses on troubles surrounding Wall Street. Recent data show poverty is already rising quite substantially, says Robert Greenstein, executive director of the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. There is a strong potential for more hardship and destitution than we have seen in this country in a number of decades. Greenstein Center released a new study projecting a sharp rise in the number of people living below the poverty line, which is roughly, listen up, all you morons who call in and go, hey, I got a good job, I make $18,000 a year. The poverty line is roughly $21,200 annually for a family of four, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. An estimated 36.5 million Americans currently live below the poverty line. But those numbers will probably increase by as many as 10.3 million. So we're saying it would go from 36.5 million to 46.8 million if current projections for the depth and duration of the recession hold true. According to the center's analysis, the number of poor children will grow by as many as 3.3 million. And the number of children in deep poverty, those in families living on less than half the wages of the official poverty line, will climb by as many as 2 million. Signs of the recession's impact on America's impoverished are increasingly apparent. Greenstein says there is a dramatic rise in food stamp caseloads in recent months. The number of people using food stamps has risen 9.6%, or roughly 2.6 million people, from August of 07 to August of 08, the last period for which data are available. Food banks around the country are reporting longer lines, even as donations are falling. By historical comparison, the expected rise in the number of impoverished in this recession is relatively normal. During the recession years of the 1980s, the number of people in poverty rose by 9.2 million, an increase of more than a third. The recession of the 1990s was not quite as deep, but still increased the number of people in poverty by 6.5 million. But those falling into poverty now face harder prospects and need more government help, Greenstein says, because many social safety nets have been cut away since past economic downturns. And then the story goes on. Now, people complain because, you know, they lost their overtime. They complain because they lost their second job. They complain, you know, maybe they lost their job and had to take another job. There are some people out there who complain because they're married and their spouse lost a job, but they still have a job and a home and a car and a TV and all of that. I'm wondering how many people listening to me right now have recently realized they are poor. I'm wondering if you're listening to me right now and you know that now you are poor. You know, there are many people who listen to radio as their cheap and only form of entertainment. When I was a kid, we had one TV in my house. And I had 3 siblings, plus 2 TV-watching parents. The TV was almost always on and almost always taken up by one of the other 5 occupants of our home. That is how I got interested in radio in the first place. I sat alone in my room with the radio on. When I was 12, 13, 14, that was my entertainment, the radio. And I'm willing to bet that although there are many upscale listeners with high educations, in fact, many of them listen to this program and to our flagship radio station here, I'm sure there are many of you listening because it's the only entertainment you can afford. Maybe you don't have Netflix. Maybe you used to have Netflix and now you've lost it. Maybe as a result of losing your job, you had to sell your house, or maybe you were foreclosed. Maybe family members left the home. Maybe your spouse left you because you had no job, or because you became broke. Maybe you had to file bankruptcy. Maybe you're living in your car. They say there's going to be a lot more people like you. And I'm wondering how many of you there are. Now, we have a toll-free telephone number. If you can still find a payphone and you don't have a cell phone, you can still call us here at 1-800-5800-TOM. It's 1-800-5800-866. But I would like to talk to those of you out there who have just realized you are poor. Maybe you've been poor, but now it's worse. And I'm specifically interested in talking to those of you who had more before. And now you are flat broke or worse. Maybe now you're homeless. I imagine there are people listening to me right now, sitting in the back seat of their car with a radio pressed to their ear. I imagine there are people out there who don't know where they're going to sleep tonight. I imagine there are people out there right now who had families, who had spouses, who had friends. And as your job went away or as your income declined, they disappeared on you. If any of these descriptions match your description, if you are any of the people I'm describing, call me now.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show. They say there's going to be a lot more people below the poverty line. A lot. I mean, we're talking about a 30% increase in the number of people living in poverty. Are you one of those people? It's 1-800-5800-TOM. Brian on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
I'm okay.
Long-time listener.
Thank you.
28.
You're 28 years old?
Yes, sir.
And what's the deal?
Oh, well, I've been unemployed for 6 months. I've been, staying on the streets here and there, staying with friends, wherever I can. I really have no family, so I'm just trying to make ends meet. I got bills to pay, so.
What were you doing for a living?
I did a lot of construction work. I drove truck for a while. I was in the military, and I had a medical discharge, and that didn't go all that well, fighting with the Veterans Affairs for about a year, and I got kind of screwed over on that, and, nothing going now, so I'm just kind of praying every night and seeing what'll happen.
And are you trained to do anything else? Do you have an education of any kind?
Just a high school diploma.
Now, you were in the military. Isn't a college education one of the benefits you get?
It is if you read the whole, you know, small print, I guess the catch-22s are, you know, you have to fulfill your contract in the military in order to get all the pros of that. And I had a 4-year, 22-week contract. I was supposed to be Special Forces Airborne Ranger, and while I was in airborne school, made a jump, and my leg didn't hold out. I had a motorcycle crash a few years before I went in, and you know, the recruiters tell you, oh, don't mention that, because you won't be able to do anything in the military. So you go ahead and you lie and you do what you can just try and make a paycheck and earn a living and get some better education and maybe become something when you get out. And, you know, you go in and the physical training is so rigorous and so tough, and the mental, the physical, it's you know, it's not for the weak of heart. I mean, that's sure. You got to be 100% health, 100%, you know, all the way. And so once they figure out they can't use you, then they kind of just give you the shaft, you know.
So the recruiter lied to you.
Oh, yes, sir.
And you did what he told you to do.
Yes, sir.
And then later on, when there were consequences, the recruiter suffered no consequences.
Oh, no, not at all. And they actually, my COs and all that, while I was over there, I was at Fort Benning there in Georgia, they played all the mind games with me, telling me they'd throw me in jail and the stockade and all that for lying, you know, because I falsified information before I went in. And, you know, so they broke me down, and, you know, I was calling my friends and telling them, oh, I might go to prison and blah, 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 and this is just a bad thing. I shouldn't have done this. And they said, you know what, don't worry about it, Brian, because they said if you go to prison, everybody goes to prison. I mean, the recruiters go to prison, their COs go to prison, everybody who told you to lie goes to prison. So they kind of, you know, put me at ease a little bit, helped me get through the situation. And, you know, that was years ago. I mean, I'm done, you know, not doing that anymore. I mean, I'm kind of over it. It's just, it stinks that you know, you give it 110% and, you know, you mess your body up even more. And then that, you know, I can't do construction anymore because I'm so jacked up, I guess, is the words you'd use on the radio here. So now
you mean you're jacked up on what, medication?
No, not medication. I actually, like I said, I haven't been working in 6 months, so I have no benefits, no money for medication. But just, you know, physical. You know, I can't do construction work anymore, and that's what I enjoy doing. So now it's just I'm kind of at the bottom of the barrel looking for, you know, whatever I can do. It's, I went to an interview today, and I'm going to be I'm going to try and be a sales rep, one of those inbound calling centers where you just work on commission only. So we'll see if that can put some food on the plate. If not, I don't know. You know, we'll see from what happens from there.
That is a tragic story.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. So you have no place to live?
No, sir.
Wow.
Right now, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have a girlfriend of 6 years. We're not married or anything, but she's a great gal, and you know, she's got a good family, and you know, they're in a situation at the moment where I can stay with them, but their house is getting ready to be foreclosed on, and you know, they're hurting for money real bad. So I have a deadline to meet to make a monthly rent payment, and if that doesn't happen here in, well, I don't know, about 5 days, I'll be back doing what I was doing a little while ago. Because I can't stay here all the time. They get upset because I'm not working. I haven't been able to find any jobs with the way the economy is. So, you know, I take a week or so off, and I go out and I just kind of camp out on the streets, sleep on the streets. I go sit outside the Home Depots trying to get, you know, work with the hired hands, and it's rough.
Wow. Well, I really feel for you. That is a terrible story. The story of the recruiter lying to you and telling you not to tell the truth about your knee or your leg, and then being in the military, going through the training, serving our country, and then your knee gives out, and then they threaten you, and now here you are back on the outside, and... there's nothing for you from the military. Nothing.
Nothing. No, sir.
Outrageous.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, if I had completed my full training, I had to do, it was a 4-week airborne school and then another probably about 3-4 months of RIP. That's what they call it. It's the Ranger Indoctrination Program. That's what they call it for the Ranger School. If I would have done that, completed that, then I would have been all right in the contract as far, well, like I said, I didn't read the whole, the small print, I guess you would call it. You know, maybe I would have had to serve the whole full 4 years and get an honorable discharge to get the college tuitions and all that. You know, I was going in because I've always wanted to be in law enforcement, so I figured it'd be a good way to get my foot in the door, but it just didn't work out. Now I can't even run. I tried my best to run and do everything that I could do, and I grit my teeth, bare my teeth for forever, going in and seeing doctors. The doctors were telling me in the military that I had shin splints, and it's like, no, I played soccer for 12 years. Like, I know what shin splints are. I had a previous motorcycle accident. My leg's messed up. It's swollen. I can't run. That's the whole problem is I couldn't pass the physical training test. You had to be able to run like a mile in 16 minutes. I couldn't do it. So, they said, well, you can either, go to jail or, go home. And I was like, well, just send me home.
Outrageous. Just an outrageous story. Thank you for telling us that story, Brian. Now, you know how I beat the crap out of people sometimes for not trying hard or not being smart? Here's a guy who did everything he was told to do. I mean, he did nothing but try to do the right thing. And now who knows where he'll be living. Unbelievable. 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. Let's say hello to Kyle on the Tom Leykis show.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I feel for the last guy. I'm active duty myself. I've seen this story over and over again. It really sucks, but I'm hustling, just barely staying afloat. Credit debt running up, getting crazy. Barely living over what you call the cost of poverty.
Let me ask you this question, Kyle. How'd you get into that position?
Just not being able to make ends. You got to make a car payment, got to pay for car insurance, got to have somewhere to live,
Yeah, but why are you not able to make ends meet?
Well, not to mention, I live beyond my means. Like many people in the military, we like to live fun. We have a fast lifestyle. But I've been doing it for, I'll be 5 years in January. But between having girlfriends, spending money on girls, making things line up, it just doesn't work out sometimes.
Wow. So you never made a lot of money.
No.
You never had a good living. You were in the military. That was your thing.
Right. Ultimatum from Dad was go to college or join the military or move out.
So you joined the military.
Absolutely.
You never thought about getting an education or trying to do something else?
Education prospects weren't working out too well.
Meaning what? You were too lazy, not smart enough?
I'm a smart kid.
Not
put
good
in the
grades?
work, but I just didn't. I was done with school.
You mean you didn't want to go to school?
Correct.
And now you're paying for it?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's what I get for not listening to you, Tom.
I understand. So you've got this credit card debt, and you're still in the military?
Absolutely.
All right, and the military is not giving out any raises that I've heard about.
Well, we get a raise every year. It's, 3%? I mean, we get a raise here and there, but it's still not enough to keep up with inflation, the cost of everything, Right. Cost of living is just getting outrageous, especially in the state of California.
So what's going to happen to you?
Good question.
You imagine the credit card companies want to get paid, and do you not have the money to make payments?
I get calls every day.
Did you ever think to do what I did, which was make the minimum payments?
I do make the minimum payments, but with interest fees and so on and so forth, it just keeps getting worse.
Right. So you're not making any progress paying.
Right.
Why are they calling you, though? I mean, you are paid up to date, right?
Right, yeah, I'm paid up to date on everything, but, I mean, you make phone calls from other countries on your cell phone bill, and it gets out of control.
You've been making calls to other countries from your cell phone?
Yes.
Why?
We got to stay in touch with the family. Email sometimes doesn't always work. I'm in
where are you? Where's the family?
The family's in Southern California. I'm on a seagoing service. I was in Asia for the last 5 months. Got back in September.
I see. And the military doesn't let you call your family?
Oh, no, they do. But it's at a cost of you have to pay $100 for this in this country, for this microchip to put into your cell phone and that and so on and so forth. And it's cheaper to call from my cell phone than it is to buy a new cell phone in another country.
I understand. Okay, now I'm starting to understand better. But here's the thing. I'm amazed. I would think the military would pay for that.
Yeah, but they don't.
That's outrageous. You can't call your family when you're out of the country?
No, we can get emails and all that stuff, but it's not the same thing as talking to Mom, you know?
Of course it's not.
Hearing Mom's voice tell her she loves you.
I mean, I'm learning something here. I'm not making fun of you in any way. I'm learning something here. I thought when you're in the military and you have to go overseas that you'd be able to pick up a phone, whether it's a satellite phone or a cell phone or whatever, and that you would be able to talk to your parents. You can't?
Right. You can, Tom, but it's at your own expense.
Well, that's the same as saying you can't, because at the same time, the military doesn't pay the kind of wages that would allow you to pay what you pay per minute. What does it cost you per minute to make a phone call? From
Asia?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was looking at like $1 something. I don't know.
It's probably $1.30, $1.40 a minute, right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. You don't make the kind of money to pay for a phone call like that, do you?
Absolutely not.
Right. Wow. So here's an interesting theme that has run so far. We've taken 2 of these calls, and both of you had some kind of a mishap with the military. And you gotta wonder how many of the people they're talking about being the new destitute, you gotta wonder how many people were serving our country who will be those people, those 9 or 10 million people they expect to join the ranks of the impoverished. It's pretty outrageous. Kyle, thank you. Thank you for the call. Wow. 1-800-5800-TOM, that's our telephone number. Are you a member of this group? Are you one of the people who has found out now you're poor, you're destitute, maybe you're homeless as a result of the economy?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866. The Tom Leykis Show.
Tom Leykis Show. 1-800-5800-TOM. We're hearing the stories of people who are newly destitute. And if you've recently found out that you're going to be poor, homeless, or worse as a result of economic hard times, call me and tell me your story. 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. Let's say hello to Walter on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hey, Tom. How's it going, dude?
It's doing okay.
Right on. Hey, man. First time, long time.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Hey, everything's all jacked up. I'm telling you. Okay, just like a couple callers that you had before. I'm also a combat veteran. Been through a lot of stuff myself. Going through a divorce. Just got laid off after 5 years, and there was like zero cash coming in. Just got a letter from the VA saying, "Don't call us, we'll call you." So yeah, I'm kind of ticked.
So, were you able to get an education out of being in the military?
I do have a lot of money that I'm considering to do. I have an associate's degree in electromechanical engineering before I went in. I chose to do a mechanic MOS to further my knowledge as far as like designing parts and, you know, things for the engineering part of it. What I ended up doing was getting married, and now I have to pay child support. So now I have to work.
And you're having a hard time finding work.
Oh, yeah. And I have no benefits, and the VA is pretty much telling me to shove my own head up my own butt. So, yeah.
Some thanks you get for being in service to our country.
Oh, it was completely my pleasure. It was.
But you would think that you would get more appreciation.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be debatable, but still the same token, the benefits are there. But, I mean, you know how the government is. They're quick to take your money, but extremely slow to give it back. And that's just the way it is.
Well, good luck to you, Walter. Thank you for telling us that story. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. Scott on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Scott.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Well, I'm calling from Portland, And I had some prospects ahead of me. I was working 3 jobs at one time. I went into work one merry day for a management meeting at a fine dining restaurant where I manage. And it was just like any other day, except when I sat down, they told me that they wanted me to resign. And I said, what? Why? And they told me some lie about how there were some trust issues and that ultimately if I resigned, they would give me a good reference. But if I didn't, they kind of let me know that they were going to tell whoever called the same lie. So they were essentially trying to get me out of unemployment. So I kind of went home. I was pretty upset about that. Within 23 hours, actually the first time I was leaving my apartment, I was then issued with a notice that said I was being let go from the property management company that I was running. So I've been fired twice in under 24 hours.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. My income just took a nosedive. Expenses skyrocketed. Subsequently, trying to deal with unemployment, my previous employer has been really shady about it. And I tell you, I talked to this broad at the unemployment department. She's probably the worst customer service person I've ever heard in my life. It's mind-boggling that this woman would have a job when I don't.
Well, keep in mind, those state employees frequently are like that.
It was unbelievable. It's totally unbelievable. And then to add to the shock of that, the shock to your ego, one of my best friends died of cancer, 4 or 5 days later.
Wow.
So it's a total shock. As is, I had some savings, and I was in school, but had to go back to work full-time and support my father when he had a stroke and had some medical issues, and as a result, stopped about halfway through my college education. Here I am with essentially no money, nothing coming in, and unemployment telling me it's going to be 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow. Now, what kind of education do you have?
Well, I had an associate's degree from our local state university, city university. And
so you only went to community college?
Well, no, it was Portland State University.
How about associate's degree? How many years did you go?
I went for 2 years, and then my father had a stroke and broke his heel, which apparently is one of the more painful injuries to endure. But it's rough, Tom. You're absolutely right when you're telling people to put 6 months away, 6 months money away in case something happens.
Well, actually, I've been telling them lately, ever since the summer, 12 months.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I actually managed the apartment building that I lived in downtown Portland. So when they submitted me the paper that the owner was hiring a new property management company, because he had actually sold the building, the new owner went with a new property management company, which meant not only did I lose that job, but my rent all of a sudden skyrocketed.
Wow.
So as a result of having to move out, humbly crawling back to my single mother who raised a proud pussy.
Unbelievable.
Tell me, Tom.
How do you feel about this?
Man, I've always tried to be strong and have a good attitude about things, and I really believe that if you work hard and just put your nose to the grindstone, things will work out. And I'll tell you, this has been a real shock to me. I was working 3 jobs at one time. I was making good money. I was having a lot of fun, and it has come to an abrupt stop, and I'm now faced with some real serious complications.
Amazing stuff, Scott. I feel for you. I wish you luck. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Robert on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, what's up, Tom?
Not much, Robert.
Well, first time calling. Only been listening to you for a while, but I guess my situation is, unlike everybody else, I actually bought 2 properties without doing any research a couple years ago, probably 2 years ago.
There's a lot of you out there.
And, of course, I got a bad loan. I got basically screwed by the people and so-called friends I thought were helping me and were going to profit along with me, but it didn't actually work out that way.
Oh, boy. Unreal.
Yeah, I actually foreclosed on both the properties. And
No, you didn't foreclose. You were foreclosed upon.
Correct. And
Right.
in the process, I actually racked up $40,000 in debt trying to keep these properties afloat. And
that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, boy. You know, I warned you guys about that. I warned you about buying those houses. I warned you about getting into real estate at that time. I don't know if you were listening, but...
I barely started listening to you recently, a couple months ago.
Yeah, because I told everybody... I told this story on the air, and I'll tell it again briefly. I appeared at, of all things, a financial seminar. And I don't generally do that because I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a stockbroker, not an accountant, not a tax attorney. I'm just a guy who grew up poor and became rich. And so I spoke at an event where other people were talking about getting rich and ways to get rich and ways to get rich in real estate and what have you. So I stepped up there and I told what I considered to be the truth. And this goes back to about 2005 or 2006. I stood up there in front of everybody, and they were all taking notes and all listening attentively. And I said, this is not a time to buy real estate. Do not buy real estate now. You have to wait until blood runs in the streets, and that's not now. It will be later on, but not now. And I looked around at the people who were paying me to be there, and I was looking around at some of the other people who were on the panel with me. And they were looking at me with, like, daggers in their eyes. You know, they were really pissed that I wasn't following the script. But I told the truth. And I feel better about that now than ever. And I'm sorry that that happened to you, but our listeners have been hearing this from me for a long time. Don't do this. Don't buy and flip houses. Don't do things where you don't have expertise. If you don't know about the real estate business, stay away. Unfortunately, many of them did not pay attention. And this is the outcome. I'm sorry it happened to you.
Yeah, it happened to me, and I guess right now the next step is, I think, bankruptcy.
So we'll all be paying for it.
I don't know. I'm still at home. Parents having a hard time, so I'm actually basically paying the mortgage there.
Wow. Robert, good luck. I'm sorry to hear that.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866. The Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis Show, coming to you from Hollywood at 1-800-5800-TOM. That is our telephone number. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. The people who know about such things say that the number of people living below the poverty line is going to go up about 30%. That's about 9 or 10 million people. I'm trying to find out if you're one of these people. It's all about the economy and the job situation right now. Are you a victim? Are you living in poverty? Are you living in your car? Are you homeless? Are you about to be? Are you about to move in with relatives who can't stand you? Or you can't stand being with? 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Gina on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Good. Well, I was just listening to the whole economic thing, and it's heartbreaking to hear all of this. Well, I got laid off 2 months ago, like during the whole market crash. I was on 1099, and so I can't.
Wait. You were on what?
1099, independent contractor.
Oh, okay.
So the company that I was with, I mean, it just went down. Just all of a sudden, it just went down. There's no money coming in, so I had to leave. And with my profession, it's so incredibly hard to get another job. And this is all that I've ever been trained for. All that, the whole job experience was of this within this industry. And so, like, I've been just researching outside of anything, of even being a hostess or a waitress. No one won't hire anyone. And, being in this situation, it makes you kind of do things you would never even consider doing. Like, I even called an escort company, and I would never demean myself to do that.
But do you have an education?
Yeah.
What are you educated to be?
Fashion designer.
And clearly there's not a lot of work in that business right now.
Oh, no, it's so dead. It is so dead. There's so many designers who are out of a job.
Wow.
So many. Yeah.
And those skills, do they have alternate uses?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, they're very, proficient in computers, in graphics, in being organized. I mean, being in the position that you are, it's just, you do have a lot of those administrative skills. But when you have a designer in your resume and all of your history was of design, no one's not going to want to hire you. They're going to be like, okay, well, why are you wanting to be a hostess? Like, what am I going to say?
Right. So because you worked as an independent contractor, that's what a 1099 job is.
Right.
There's no unemployment for you.
No.
So there'll be no benefits of any kind. So you got no income coming in at all.
None at all.
And where do you live?
In L.A.
No. I mean, do you live do you have an apartment, a house?
Yeah, I live an apartment.
All right. And are you not capable of paying the rent?
No, I'm so late. I haven't paid my rent. So, I mean, I'm getting extensions. I'm trying to do whatever I can. Like, I'm selling all these things on eBay or just selling whatever, doing little jobs here and there just to do anything. I'm trying so hard, but it's like luck is just not on my side, or on a lot of people's side at least.
Right.
And
do you have friends? Is anyone helping you?
No.
So you're saying you don't have friends, or your friends don't help you?
No, my friends are, they're in tough situations too. Nobody is in a position to help anyone out right now.
Well, now you say nobody is. I mean, look, if unemployment is 8% in California,
wow,
which is about what it is, that means 92% of everybody is working.
Right.
So when you say no one's in a position to help, maybe it's just that you have friends who all have similar career goals as you, and they're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. I mean, as far as lending money?
Well, as far as anything, I mean,
they're there for my emotional support, but as far as, like, getting me out of the situation...
as an example, did any of your friends ever suggest that you be their roommate, or they be yours?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. It just never came up.
Maybe it should.
Yeah, I know.
I hate having a roommate as much as you do.
What's that?
I hate having a roommate as much as you do. So I understand, but, tough times call for tough measures.
I've been through this before. Just, now that I'm older and I shouldn't be in this position. Now that I've already paid my dues, I went to school and I, started working, and I worked up to the point where I'm at now. I mean, I've been in a position where I was living in my car and, like, eating dollar burgers a day, but I'm supposed to be out of that now, and I'm supposed to be better now.
I understand all that, but you probably were not even born when we had the recession of the 70s.
I know.
And you were probably 2 years old or so when Jimmy Carter was president.
Right.
And what you may not be aware of, for example, a money market account that now pays 2% interest or less. Do you know how much they were paying in 1979? 16%. Do you know how much it was to get a mortgage back then? 20%.
Oh, my God.
In fact, the first house I bought, which was 23 years ago, in 1985, I was lucky to get my mortgage of 11.5%. And happy to have it.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But the thing is, you have grown up in an era where we have not had those kinds of hard times.
Right.
And so you just believe that times are always good.
Right.
But they're not.
No.
And because, it's just like living in L.A. We haven't had a big earthquake in a long time.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I don't know about you, but I tend to believe the longer we go without having a big earthquake, the more likely it is we're going to have a bigger earthquake.
Yeah, I'm
right?
scared of that, too.
I think the economy is kind of the same thing.
Okay.
You know, the economy had its ups and downs.
Right.
It was up in the 60s, and then it went way down. Then it was up in the 70s, then way down for years. Huh? Then it came back in the 80s. Then it went down when George Bush the First was president.
Right.
Then it went up when Clinton was president. But the thing is, it had ups and downs.
Right.
But you had ups for so long. But now you're seeing a big down.
Yeah.
And you've never seen a down as an adult. You don't know what that's like. So you have a sense of entitlement. Like, well, I'm supposed to be, here's where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not.
I mean, I understand, like, you know, the struggles of life. I understand that this is something
Well, it's not just the struggles of life, but, you know, the economy is kind of like, you know, it has winter, summer, spring, and fall, you know.
Right.
And we had a very long summer.
Okay. And
now you're heading for winter.
And it's cold out there.
Well, I can tell. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sorry to hear it, but like I say, part of it is that you've never lived through this before.
Yeah. So what do people do? You know, like what do? They I'm reading through all of this thing, and they have so many scams or anything that people are easily could fall into it.
You take lesser jobs. You know what I did when I was 19 in 1975? I took jobs on the telephone selling stuff.
Yeah. I went to one of those things, and they made me have to buy their product to sell.
Well, they're not all. Well, they're not all like that. They're not all like that. But I did that. I was a telephone solicitor.
Okay.
And I got paid according to how many positive responses I could get.
Okay.
And I'll bet there'll be a lot of jobs like that.
Trust God, I sent my resumes out to like 1,000 people a week.
That would be one example. I mean, sales jobs. Everybody needs to sell stuff. And with the economy stinking the way it does, you know, there's going to be a demand for good salespeople.
Okay. Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, good luck. I know it's tough. Our email address is my name. It's Tom at blowmeuptom.com. Tom at blowmeuptom.com.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.